Waiting on F-16s to be transferred from somewhere. Approach here. Now, I want to say President Joe Biden has been slow in providing military resources to Ukraine. I mean, they promised 33 Abrams tanks back in January. They're still waiting on them. We're waiting on F-16s to be transferred from somewhere. called upon to do hard things, we always rise to the challenge. But I do think that faith, that belief as Americans that we're endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights is at the very heart of the American experiment. And look, I will always stand for the freedom of people to believe or not to believe according to the dictates of their faith and conscience. But for me and my house, we'll always be open about our faith. But we want to be respectful and gentle. People that know us know, as I like to say, I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order. And I truly do believe that simply in the course of our career, that people knowing that we're a family that prays, we're a family that spends time in devotions, has been an encouragement to many believers around the country. And we won't hide that under a bushel basket, I promise you. And I hope it'll be an encouragement to many Americans as well. I think we turn our hearts back to that wellspring of faith. If we renew our confidence in the American people, we'll see that pessimism
How's that? Can you guys hear me now? Test, test. 1, 2. Throw into the comments if you can hear me. We are going to be talking a lot about um, Carrie Lake and Katie Hobbs, the difference between the two of them. There's a Democrat governor, that's Katie Hobbs, and she's in Arizona. And get this, she vetoes a bill that would have banned teachers from filming pornography in their classrooms. Also, a little bit later, I'm very excited to talk about this with Jeannie Ives. Governor J.B. Pritzker, you won't believe what he did. Let me pull this up for you. Um, in the state budget, it looks like $300,000 went to Black Lives Matter of Lake County. And the leader of Black Lives Matter, Lake County, is a convicted felon. And they were given a $300,000 grant. So here we have the story. Former Representative Jeannie Ives, she was a state representative, and she currently works for an advocacy group. It's called Breakthrough Ideas. Need some coffee. Governor J.B. Pritzker, she says that she found out that Governor J.B. Pritzker gave Black Lives Matter Lake County money, even though its leader pleaded guilty to felony charges. So who's the leader? Clyde McLemore. So this just he made the news like in December 2022, apparently when he was, doing some felony bail jumping in Wisconsin. Terrible guy, Antifa type guy. And the charges, they stem from a previous arrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin in August, where he was charged with felony battery to a police officer and disorderly conduct. This guy's a bit bad news. And there's a grant in the budget. There's a line, and it says a $300,000 grant was given to this group, and it's headed up by a convicted felon, somebody who beat a police officer. Jeannie Ives, she says that, this is going on despite there's this bipartisan bill that was passed while she was in office, and it's called the Grant Transparency Act. So what this does is that, you have to be very upfront about where this money is going. Um, and it's not the first time this group has received taxpayer funds. That's the whole kicker to this. They gave BLM Lake County $300,000 in federal COVID-19 relief money. Wow. And we know at a national scale, BLM, the organization, did very little to pay for nonprofit organization, or did very little charitable works. They didn't take that money and put it towards charity at all. They bought themselves Lambos. So we are going to be back. We're going to talk about DeSantis firing back at Gavin Newsom. I thought it was amazing. DeSantis actually calls Gavin Newsom a pathetic little man. And I didn't take Ron DeSantis for much of a name caller, but he did. He fires back and he says, look, you're trespassing. You're having these illegal immigrants trespass on Florida property, and I'm going to ship them to you because you're a sanctuary state. So Ron DeSantis has a hit back at Gavin Newsom, who's accused him of sending 36. Yes, 36. He sent only 36 illegal immigrants to California. And these were 36 willing. That's the key word here, folks. Willing immigrants. These immigrants wanted to go to California. They were looking forward to go to Sacramento. They were even laughing on the plane. So Ron DeSantis thought, that's what Newsom wanted. So we're going to be back there and we're talking about that. Also, another governor in the news today, Katie Hobbs. She vetoed a bill that would have made it illegal for teachers to film pornography in the classroom. So why is this even a thing? There's a story from last November. where an Arizona teacher well, it's a teacher couple, so they're both teachers in this classroom, and they filmed themselves for their OnlyFans account. Yes, I'll get into it here coming up in just a bit. It's a Friday. And, a lot of people get paid on Fridays. I don't know why. It's just people get paid on Fridays. It's not payday for me, but sometimes people get paid on Fridays and they get paid weekly, bi weekly. Uh, and I'm sure you see in your pay stub how much money is taken out for taxes. And you scream at the sky, you want to pull out your hair. Imagine if that money that's taken out of your check every week was going to a convicted felon who beat a police officer. You're not too happy about that, are you? So Governor J.B. Pritzker did that. He gave money to Black Lives Matter. Lake County, even though its leader has pleaded guilty to felony battery charges multiple times. This is a repeat offender. And Jeannie Ives is going to be joining me to talk about the Grant Transparency Act because this is not right. People in Springfield, these lawmakers in Springfield, need to be transparent. And Governor J.B. Pritzker needs to be transparent about where these funds are going and why he's giving them the money. Doesn't make sense. He's giving the money to a convicted felon. It's $300,000 this past budget. That's how much they gave this group. And this isn't the first time they gave BLM Lake County. He's the leader of this BLM, Clyde McLemore. He has been in the news multiple times for felony assault or felony battery, and then also jumping bail. They've given this group money before. And I want to know this, how much of that money, because we know nationally BLM wasn't giving their money to charitable organizations. So I want to know how much of that $300,000 is actually going back into the community. Probably none of it. All right, do want to shift gears, want to talk a little bit about uh, Caroline Jean-Pierre. So she exposes the White House's border crisis hypocrisy, and all it really took was 16 illegal aliens being sent to the blue state. So kudos to Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Kudos. There was a first bus of illegal asylum undocumenteds that rolled into Washington, D.C. They dropped off the migrants at their new home, and that really started to change the conversation here about illegal immigration. Suddenly, the pro illegal Democrat Party was concerned about these illegal aliens being a drain on the services and resources for the community. And it's just like liberals prefer it when illegal immigration is a problem for these small towns along the border because they can virtue signal about the xenophobia in the comforts of their own home. They're okay with it when it's at the small towns on the border there. So some, like White House Press Secretary Caroline Jean-Pierre, still don't get it. They still don't understand why these illegal immigrants are being shipped out to blue cities, blue states. It's because they're sanctuary states. They're sanctuary cities. You're asking for it. You're begging for it. This is evident by her comments made here about 16, yes, 16 illegal aliens. We're not talking hundreds. We're not talking thousands. This is just 16, and she's really upset about it. These 16 illegal immigrants were shipped to Washington, D.C. That's one less than 17 and 10,284 less than the 10,300 who were sent to California. So she's upset about 16. Let's take a listen to Joe Biden, the Biden administration's one of the most incompetent diversity hires. Let's go.
local officials as well is dangerous and unacceptable. And we'll continue to be very, very clear about that. It is dangerous and unacceptable because you're putting people's lives at risk. And it's dangerous and unacceptable because you're actually putting a lot of pressure on these states and local areas. And so I've said it many times from here,
So there you have it.
repeatedly,
Going
from this
downstairs,
podium, that
busing
busing or
illegal
flying migrants
from the border
around the
to
country
other
without
cities
any
is both
coordination
dangerous
with the
and
federal government, we've
unacceptable
talked
because
about
you're
this,
actually putting a lot of
state
pressure
or
on
local
these states
officials as
and
well.
local areas. Oh, the hypocrisy. The most incompetent of Joe Biden's diversity hires was talking about 16 illegal aliens who were sent from Florida to California. That's what she was talking about there, to a blue state. She was all upset about it. Governor Newsom wants to charge now, get this, Ron DeSantis with kidnapping. That's what Governor Gavin Newsom says he wants to do. Even though the illegals were all they were excited to go to California. In DeSantis's defense, after Florida passed the common sense illegal immigration reform, after the California did that, he thought that Newsom would be love the extra illegal immigrants. After all, Newsom has bragged several times California is a sanctuary state. It's a sanctuary state. So why would you not want the illegal aliens there? You're begging for them. So Florida, they passed that common sense illegal immigration reform. And Kieran Jean-Pierre says that that's put a lot of pressure on these states to take in these extra 16, it's 16 folks, undocumented seeking asylum illegals, right? So Bill Malugin, he gets out there on Twitter and he gives us the number. He's doing really well with reporting the numbers at this. He works for Fox News. You hear him at the top of the hour sometimes. He's talking about how Border Patrol apprehended 10,300 illegal aliens who were crossed illegally yesterday. And Monday also broke the 10,000 threshold. So this is a day. These are Border Patrol agents apprehending 10,000 illegal immigrants a day. Monday, it broke the 10,000 threshold. And Bill Malugin says here in the tweet, I'm told these are the highest single day totals ever recorded, and it's expected to go even higher after Title 42 drops tomorrow. Oh, so this is a May 10th tweet. So that was a day. So that was last month when Title 42 was dropping. So it's probably even more than the 10,300 migrants who crossed. It's bad. Over 10,000 migrants crossing over a day, putting pressure on towns along the border, I would say, right? I don't think these 16 illegal aliens that Ron DeSantis sent up to California is as bad as the 10,000 migrants who are being or who are coming across the border and staying in these border towns. The White House position on this whole issue, the immigration issue, is meh. We don't care. We don't care that there's 10,000 illegal immigrants crossing over into states like border states like Florida, Texas, even California. That's a border state. There's illegal immigration happening there. And they're going to get all peeved off when Ron DeSantis ships up 16 to California. That's what they're going to be all upset about. I got to take a break. When we come back, I've got a Democrat governor who yes, let me say this a couple of times for you because you're going to scream at the radio. Democrat governor vetoes a bill that would have banned teachers from filming pornography in their classrooms. You heard me correctly. There's a Democrat governor out there who's actually vetoed a bill that would have banned teachers from filming porn in their class. Yeah. Can you guess what Democrat governor? This is going to be fun. Text in your guess. It's not JB, okay? Text in your guess. 309-451-9299. What Democrat governor did that? Good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. I so do appreciate it. Newsom is a criminal. Yes, I agree. He should be charged with, like, I don't know, trespassing or something like that. He's saying that Governor Ron DeSantis should be charged with kidnapping for sending 16 willing illegal aliens to California. I mean, there's video footage of them clapping on the plane. They're so excited and laughing. They're all excited to go to California. Um, Listening to that broad KGB or KJBP just said, you gotta wonder at what level of stupid do Dem supporters have to sink before they start to feel stupid? Yeah, that's the thing is, I don't think that they don't care. They don't care that they're hypocrite. I mean, that was just so hypocritical of Kieran Jean Pierre to come out there and say that this is a real strain on local and on these local communities and states where they're shipping these illegal aliens. And it's like, you're the reason. Like, Joe Biden's the reason why we have 10,000 illegal immigrants being apprehended a day. And that's not, I mean, a day. There's 10,000 people flooding over to these small border towns. I would think that the 10,000 illegal aliens is a strain on resources and a strain on services in comparison to the 16 that Ron DeSantis said, hey, they're all about social equity, aren't they? Like, you're all about equity, so let's spread it out a bit. Okay, why do I have to have all the illegals? Why can't we share and be more equitable about this sort of stuff? So we're going to be back. Throw into the comments section, what Democrat governor do you think banned that wouldn't allow a ban of teachers filming pornography in their classrooms? So we have a Democrat governor who vetoed a bill that would have made it illegal for teachers to film pornography in their in their classrooms and in public spaces in the school. So what governor do you think? I'm excited to talk about it. This was really baffling to me. And, you know, if you guys want to know what your kids are reading, I know you guys take them to public school and I get it. I'm really going to try to make it an effort to provide you guys some more resources ahead. Moving in the months ahead, there's some people I'm talking to from the Illinois Family Institute to try to make some resources available to you. So that way, if you are sending your child to public school, you can get them out very affordable. Um, I'm hoping that I can make those resources available to you and make you aware of those resources. But in these public schools, right? I mean, just a little small taste. If you want to know what your kids are learning, pick up the book Flamer, pick up the book Genderqueer, and give it a read. And then tell me that you will continue to send your kid to public school. I think a lot of people they get mad at me when I say, "Why are you sending your kid there? Stop. Why would you want to send your kid there?" They get upset. They're like, "Cat, well, I can't afford anything else, or well, I have a job. We both work, and I get it. I understand. But at the end of the day, is a job or your kid more important?" All right. I mean, I'm telling you right now, these kids are in indoctrination camps and they want them even younger. This is why Governor JB Pritzker has passed all of this stuff with preschools. And he's accepting applications now for 3, 4 year olds, right? If you want your kid to go to public school, preschool, then you can get like a grant to send them to school. It's insane, preschool. So I don't know. It's insanity. We're gonna be back here in just a little bit. much to get to. I've got a lot of things to get to this Friday morning, 6:39 a.m. I'm feeling a bit tired. I don't know about y'all. It's Friday, so that's good. It's Friday. I get a bit tired by the end of the week. I'm sure y'all feel the same. You can text in at 309-451-9299. I've got my coffee in studio, and we are going to get buzzed up on news and buzzed up on caffeine this morning, okay? So what's going on? We've got Karen Jean-Pierre. I just talked about her, how she exposes the White House border crisis hypocrisy. She's sitting there and she's saying, oh, 16 illegal immigrants. How could you send them to a blue state? That's a strain on their resources. That's a strain on their services. How could you send them there, Ron DeSantis? You got to be kidding me right now. Bill Malugin, he's out there on Twitter. He's got the numbers. 10,000 a day are apprehended at these border towns like in Texas and in Florida. 10,000 illegal aliens a day. I don't know. I think 10,000 compared to your 16 would probably have more of a strain on the resources and services for the state of Florida, right? Imagine 10,000 people coming to Bloomington Normal, like just in one day. 10,000. Would we have enough with the water? Would our infrastructure hold up? Would we be able to house them? The housing crisis here in Bloomington Normal is insane. And nobody can buy anything. It's a seller's market, as on the house John Armstrong would tell you. It's a seller's market, and nobody can really buy anything here in Bloomington because it's just. I mean, they're trying to keep up. They're building more developments in Bloomington Normal. But we wouldn't be able to house any of these immigrants. We wouldn't have the resources for 10,000. We would have to ship them. We would have to get them on trains, planes, buses, and get them out of here. I mean, that's you have to you have to be realistic. All right. I do want to talk about this Democrat governor. Yep, you guessed it. Katie Hobbs. Ugh. There's a Democrat governor who vetoes this bill, Katie Hobbs, that would actually ban teachers from filming pornography in the classroom. We're going to get to that here. We're also going to get to Ron DeSantis hitting back. I mean, he hits back hard at Newsom, accusing him of trespassing, accusing him of kidnapping. And he says, Ron DeSantis goes, look, I'm giving sanctuary states what they asked for. Okay. And then a little bit later, I was hesitant to bring you this story this morning, but I think you're going to enjoy this story as much as I did because it's us exposing the left for what they're actually doing at these drag shows. So exposed to booby weightlifting. Yes, booby. I'm being PG here. Booby weightlifting. During yet another all ages drag show. This happened. I think it was Oregon State University. They had somebody doing booby weightlifting, and you're probably looking at your radio with an eyebrow lifted, and you're like, Kat, what's booby weightlifting? Well, you're going to have to stay tuned to find out. Okay, let's talk about the Katie Hobbs. So whenever I talk about Katie Hobbs, I'm just reminded that we could have had Carrie Lake, and we ended up with this dingbat instead, Katie Hobbs. Carrie Lake would not have vetoed this bill that bans teachers from filming pornos in their classrooms, but Katie Hobbs did, which I guess this makes her in the pocket of big porn or something. I don't know why she would have vetoed this. This is something common sense. Yes, teachers should not be filming pornography in classrooms. You heard me correctly. Katie Hobbs vetoed a bill that would have made it illegal for teachers to film pornography in their elementary school classrooms. So you're asking me, why is this even a thing, Kat? Why are you bringing this up? Well, last November, we had an Arizona teacher couple. They filmed their sex work inside of a classroom they worked in. So this was Samantha and Dylan Peer. They were both teachers and they were both employed at this school district in Arizona. Now, the students they found, because students do this, right? If you're a teacher and you're listening, you want to keep your social media clean because kids are going to look you up on social media, and they found their OnlyFans content on the internet because that's how the internet works. It's available to everyone. As soon as you put it out there, it's available to everyone. So the teachers were fired because they had their OnlyFans account, pornography, and they did this inside of the classroom. Samantha, she released the woman teacher. She released a whiny video on YouTube about why you should feel bad for her. Spoiler: I watched the YouTube video and I didn't feel bad for her at all. um, yeah, she's upset that she got fired. You're filming porn in your classroom. What? What? Of course you're gonna get fired. Uh, the move made OnlyFans reiterate their best practices about users not being allowed to film sex in a public place. So that's the only, like, that's one of two things you can't do on OnlyFans. So uh, that, and I saw this. This is just a random girl on Instagram when I was researching this story. Uh, Apparently, I guess OnlyFans doesn't want you to support the Second Amendment either. So, like, there's only a couple of rules. One, you can't have sex in public places and film it and then put it up there for everyone to see. Two, you definitely can't support the Second Amendment. Here we go. Let's take a listen. This is just some random girl on OnlyFans. Here we go. So I think she's, like, actually making fun of it. This woman, I think. So she's, like, saying that we have standards and boundaries. Okay, we're not gonna talk about guns, we're not gonna allow guns in our videos. Um, so why would Governor Katie Hobbs veto such a common sense reform? Why would she do that? Katie Hobbs vetoed the bill because she was afraid that if she banned filming porn in the classroom, it would have also banned teachers from providing porn in the classroom. So the bill specifies porn that is textual, uh, visual, audio. It's text, visual, and audio. So that's what the bill specifies. It says all kinds of formats, all kinds of mediums. Um, and that just goes way too far for the Democrat governor, Katie Hobbs. She says this: I have vetoed this bill. While I agree not all the content is appropriate for minors, this bill is a poor way to address the concerns. The sponsor has stated that the bill was aimed to prevent a specific action from reoccurring, while in reality, it is written in such a vague matter that it serves as little more than a thinly veiled effort to ban books. There you have it. She's upset because she thinks that banning filming porn in a classroom is going to have some sort of effect on her books. Um, Hobbs here, she's obviously referencing states like Florida. Florida believes that books about kids tasting their body fluids and giving out handies and reading a graphic novel that explicitly illustrates two dudes in the act is not appropriate for kids. And I'm sorry, we try to do a PG-13, PG show, but this is just like, your kids are reading this. Okay, I literally took all of that from the book Genderqueer, and I know that it's in the school libraries. Okay, like, this is just factual. um there's things in these books that are wildly inappropriate for kids. And she's referencing Florida here, where she says this is an effort to ban books. um Democrats who are pro exposing kids to porn in classrooms, like Katie Hobbs, call that book banning. Okay? They say it's book banning if you don't think it's appropriate to have kids reading books about tasting their body fluids, or books that have explicit illustrations of people in the act. If you think that's inappropriate, then you're book banning. Even though if you as a parent feel your kid learning about all of that stuff is crucial to your development, their kids' development. There's parents out there who think that, hey, this is crucial to my kid's environment. Tasting your body fluids, giving out Andes, reading a graphic novel that explicitly illustrates two dudes in the act. Right? There's some parents out there that think that that's crucial to your kid's development, and I get that. But go buy the book on Amazon.com. Okay? I mean, you could have the book to you tomorrow. The question, by Katie Hobbs vetoing this bill that would have banned pornography being filmed in the classroom, isn't she admitting that there is pornography like being provided to students in the classroom? So she essentially vetoed this, and she said, "Yeah, I can't do this because I'm afraid that it's going to infringe on the pornography that we're distributing to students in the classroom. I can't vote, or I can't sign this bill." Governor Carrie Lake would not have been a shill for big porn like Katie Hobb is. I'm just saying. 309-451-9299. I got to take a break, but we're going to be back here. I've got so much to get to. Ron DeSantis hitting back hard at Governor Gavin Newsom, accusing him of kidnapping, trespassing. Look, Ron DeSantis is saying this. Y'all are a sanctuary state. I thought you wanted this. And then, of course, I will get to booby weightlifting during yet another all-age drag show at a school. It's the Oregon State University. There were kids in the audience, according to eyewitnesses. This is a booby weightlifting thing, and the kids were exposed to this. I'm going to unpack what that is next. Good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. We got a lot of things to get to today. That Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs sitting there and vetoing a bill. Like I said, back in November, there were these teachers, Samantha and Dylan Peer, and they had an OnlyFans account, and they performed a porno in their classroom. And OnlyFans, they have like maybe one or two rules. One or two rules. And one of those rules is that you cannot be in the act in a public space and then post it online. Obviously, the teachers were fired. Um, I say obviously, and I'm kind of shocked that they weren't, like given some award or something for being more inclusive and being all for diversity. But these teachers were fired, and the woman Samantha, she gets out there and she's like, woe is me, I'm whining on YouTube because she's so upset that they fired her. Um, but then that kind of ignited somebody to say, hey, let's draft up legislation banning pornography being filmed in the classroom. So that struck up a conversation about, hey, what's appropriate for children to be exposed to. Um, and then Katie Hobbs vetoed this bill because she was afraid that they wouldn't be able to provide pornography. So it's okay to ban pornography being filmed in the classroom, but it's not okay to ban pornography being distributed in the classroom. Yeah, so Katie Hobbs vetoing that bill. Colson's up this morning. He's talking about Donald Trump. I know it. Getting indicted by the DOJ, not a witch hunt or political persecution. Oh boy. Colson, have you read the Presidential Records Act? All right, that's all I'm going to say about this issue. I didn't want to talk about the Donald Trump indictment today. I've talked about it several times and I'm just tired. I mean, aren't you guys tired of hearing about, indictment number one, indictment number two, impeachment number one, impeachment number two? It's like, it's so blatantly obvious that they are trying to do everything in their power to make sure that he is not president. This is so blatantly obvious. They will do anything. They're pulling out all of the stops. They are going after Donald Trump because of what he stands for. They're going after Donald Trump. He's just standing in the way. They're going after you, to be honest. Donald Trump is just standing in their way. Because Donald Trump represents a MAGA populist movement, a nationalist movement where we believe in America first. And yeah, they don't like that. They want to stop that, and they're going to do everything they can to stop Donald Trump. And you know what I say? Bring it, bring it. You're going to see that you poke somebody too much, then the dog bites back. Okay, that's what's going to wind up happening, and that's what they want to happen. Obviously, they've been. This is all. So actually, if you look into the court documents and the court schedules in Washington D.C., there's not one day that goes by where they're not trying to persecute those J6ers who caused a disturbance at the Capitol. Um, they're trying to get them on all kinds of misdemeanors. They're trying to get them on trespassing. And these are all things. And yeah, people are actually like dying in the streets. They're overdosing on fentanyl. They're selling fentanyl. But yes, we're going to go after the J6ers who trespassed, which is kind of vague in and of itself because they were led around the Capitol by Capitol Police, which, yeah. Um, we're going to go after them and we're going to spend all of our taxpayer money fighting these cases for these misdemeanors. And the reason why is because they are building up judicial momentum. They're building up momentum to try to indict Donald Trump. That's what it is. January 6th. Um, all of it is a buildup. They know that they couldn't um, get him on the Stormy Daniels thing. They know that they know that they aren't going to be able to convict, but this is a buildup. This is they're trying to get it to where it's the court of public opinion. They think if they go after him enough with these indictments and with these different hoaxes, they think if they go after him enough, eventually people will start to hate him. And that's just not true. What you're starting to do is rile up the base. And maybe that's their end goal is to rile up the base and to get them to act out violently. Because this, folks, is regimes. This is the way regimes start. They're going after political opponents. They're weaponizing the government against political opponents. What if it's you? What if it's me who runs for office next and they don't like us? That it's not about Donald Trump. It's about you and me. Oh, hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. Gonna read a couple of your texts here. Newsom is a criminal. And then I've got a liberal texting in. He says, Donald Trump is getting indicted by the DOJ, and it's not a witch hunt or it's not political persecution. It is political persecution. Donald Trump, he didn't even mishandle classified documents. Read the Presidential Records Act. I'm not going to explain what it is. Read the Presidential Records Act. He did not mishandle classified documents under that act. Okay. That's just what every attorney expert I've ever listened to says. And this is about going after you. This isn't about going after Donald Trump. I think it's like, I don't know, 65% of the cases that are heard in Washington, D.C. are J6 or something. There's a lot of J6 cases in Washington, D.C. They're plaguing up the system. They're trying to build momentum to go after Donald Trump because he's running in 2024. They're doing everything they can to get him to not run. They're doing everything they can to try to manipulate the public into one, either hating him, or two, acting out violently. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to push you so far to where you get upset because it's not about Donald Trump, it's about you. Good morning. Hey, we're going to be back here talking about Ron DeSantis firing back on Gavin Newsom. Um, Here we go. Let's read some of these, shall we? Yes, I love this one. They think that Gavin Newsom is going to wind up being our future president, a future installed president. Yeah, I think they're going to run with Joe Biden in 2024. I don't foresee him jumping into the race right now. But yeah, maybe in the future they will install Gavin Newsom. Joe Biden's gonna die sometime, right? I don't know how much longer this guy's gonna make it. I'm just being honest and realistic with you. Guy's old. So they've got to install somebody new at some point. We are going to be talking about booby weightlifting, titty weightlifting. Yes, I have the story. This is really gross stuff. And kids were exposed to it. So it's like this drag queen, I guess. I don't know. They're called booby push-ups. And it's like weightlifting. So this is just when I talk about drag queens, we're not talking about art, okay? Drag queens, you guys got to relax. And I know many of those of us on the right feel that, you know, um, that this is not art. This is disgusting. A lot of them think that we're too critical of the art and we're too critical of drag queens. But look, this is not men dressing up as women to entertain adults. These are men dressing up as women to entertain children. And they think that this is no different than dressing up as Chase from Paw Patrol, okay, or some sort of cartoon character. That's what the Democrats think. They think that drag queen story hour and drag queens dressing up is no different than somebody putting on some sort of cartoon character costume. Now, you know what might actually bolster your case here in saying that this is no different than Paw Patrol? Not not taking your clothes off and doing something called booby push-ups in front of children. So if you want to keep your case going here, Dems, and continuing to say that drag queens are art, it's art, and that it's safe for kids, and it's no different than a Disney character dressed up, like dressing up as a Disney character or some sort of mascot in a costume. Um, if you want to continue saying that, then maybe don't have people doing booby push-ups in front of children at these drag all ages drag shows. So when did drag become an ideal for the leftist virtue? When did it become a thing that they promoted? Excellent question. I'm glad you asked. There's always been drag shows, always. Adult men dressing up like women, telling raunchy jokes to entertain adults in bars. That's always been a thing. Um, and if that's your thing, whatever, fine. I'm not going to judge you. I won't join you. I'm sorry. Not my thing. Then minors started dressing up like women to entertain adults in bars, and conservatives, we said, hey, that seems inappropriate. The left doubled down. They did drag queen story hour. And conservatives said, guys, seriously, you're crossing a line here. Please leave the kids alone. And then they, if you don't support all of the drag queen stuff all of the time, then they say that you hate every L, every G's, B's, T's, Q's, A's, I's, P's, elemental P's, whatever the pluses are nowadays. So the question is, when did drag become like an ideal for the leftist future? When did it become a thing for them to promote? Well, they kind of started doing it out of spite. Um, and I've got a drag show here in Oregon State University that I have to talk about because it was advertised for all ages. And now, to their credit, they did say there were adult themes in this drag show. That didn't stop small children from seeing this. Excuse me. There was a drag queen stripping off all of their clothes. having an exposed chest out there and doing what's called booby weightlifting. I'm going to explain it here coming up in just a little bit. Oh, it's a packed Friday. I have to tell you about Mike Pence. I'm sorry. I know you're like, oh, that guy. Yeah, I've got to tell you a little bit about him a little bit later in the show. He ends his presidential campaign before it fails on its own by making a little comment about Ukraine. It's like a really lame comment. Uh, then a little bit later, we will be talking about Jean Pierre, the black lesbian diversity hire, probably the worst diversity hire on the Biden administration. But she exposes the White House border crisis hypocrisy. And all it really took was 16 migrants to be sent to a blue state. And she exposes her hypocrisy. Well, the Biden administration's hypocrisy over the whole issue. I told you a little bit about Katie Hobbs, Democrat governor, vetoing this bill that would have banned teachers from filming pornography in classrooms. I know you're like, wait, what'd you say, Kat? Yes, you heard me right. You heard me correctly. A Democrat governor, Katie Hobbs in Arizona, she vetoed a bill that would have banned teachers from filming porn in their classrooms, and she just didn't like it. She didn't like that bill that would have banned that, and she vetoed it. So we're going to talk about all of that and more ahead on the Morning Buzz, but right now in the 7 o'clock hour, I want to talk about DeSantis hitting back hard at Newsom. So Newsom accuses him of kidnapping, says that we should charge Ron DeSantis with kidnapping. And look, Ron DeSantis says, I'm giving sanctuary states what they asked for. Okay. I'm giving them what they asked for. So we're going to get to that. Also, kids exposed to what's called booby weightlifting during yet another all ages drag show at a school. So it's at Oregon State University. I'm going to be explaining. I never thought I would have to do this, what booby weightlifting is, but there were children exposed to booby weightlifting at this university. All right, let's get into it. Ron DeSantis hitting back Governor Gavin Newsom, who has witnessed, or who is Governor Gavin Newsom. He has witnessed now 36, a whole 36 illegal immigrants coming to the state of California and getting out of a plane that they were willingly getting into. I mean, they got onto the plane, they were laughing on the plane. We can see videos of this sort of thing. There were 36 willing illegal immigrants who were looking forward to go to Sacramento, and Ron DeSantis just helped them out. And Ron thought this is something that Newsom would have wanted. So I've got a clip here of Ron DeSantis just firing back after Governor Gavin Newsom um, says that Ron DeSantis should be charged with kidnapping. Here we go.
They have types of open become very, very upset about that. Well, what are these people having to deal with here? I don't see the sympathy for them. And so, the reality is I think the border should be closed. I don't think we should have any of this. But if there's a policy to have an open border, then I think the sanctuary jurisdiction should be the ones that have to bear that. We're not a sanctuary in Florida. And yes, we know people want to come, and so the more we can divert before we even have to get there is good for our state. And this policy's been debated now for a long time. It got overwhelming support from the legislature. These were things that I had to go to them. I wasn't just doing it on my own, and I think it's been something that's been that's been very, very effective. And you can see why some people, when they're coming illegally, a place like California, they give benefits, they give unemployment checks, they do all that. And so you could see why some of those folks were interested in going that direction. In Florida, we've gone the opposite way. We say, we're going to have a legal workforce, we're not going to have benefits, we're not going to do that, and basically trying to disincentivize it. Other states have tried to incentivize it. And so I think they should be the ones to pay, to do it. Why don't we all just come together and say the current policy is a failure? Any country worth its salt would have control over its own borders. We have too many Americans dying, and this is totally unacceptable. And let's get the federal government to do to reverse course. I don't see that from those areas. I see basically just complaints about it, about if people show up there, but I don't see them willing to address the underlying problem, which is the failed policy. Back in the back.
There you have it. Ron DeSantis hitting back hard. And look, here's what the feud between Newsom and DeSantis shows. Conservatives turned a humid swamp into a fast-growing, business-friendly success, okay? That's the state of Florida. Conservatives, they turned it into something that's good. Leftists, they turn areas like the state of California into hellholes, okay? I mean, they have unparalleled natural resources in California and beauty. It is a beautiful state, and they've turned it into a hellhole at the end of the day. And Ron DeSantis knows that. And I mean, the receipts are there. Ron DeSantis hitting back. I do want to shift gears, talk about this booby weightlifting thing. I know you're like, what? Okay, drag queens, take a knee. I know many of you feel those of us on the right are too critical of your art. I get it. And you feel men dressed as women entertaining children is no different from dressing up as Chase from Paw Patrol. I get it. That's what you think. Do you know what might bolster your case, though? You know what might kind of might uh, uh put like a damper on your whole pitch here, that men dressed as women entertaining children is no different than, just dressing up as Chase from Paw Patrol. Uh, it's somebody taking off all of their clothes and doing something called booby push-ups in front of children. Okay, that is going to put some holes in your theory here that this whole drag queen thing is safe for kids. First, let's address this question, because I got this question on the buzz line, and you can text in here to the morning buzz. Cat Petersen, 309-451-9299. You're listening to Cities 92.9. The question here is, when did drag queen shows and drag become an ideal of the Democrat Party and like a leftist virtue? Right? When did it become a leftist virtue? Excellent question. I'm glad you asked. There have always been drag shows. Okay, there's always been drag shows. Adult men would dress up like women. They'd tell some raunchy jokes, and they'd entertain adults in bars. Okay, fine, that's your thing. Whatever. I'm gonna recommend you don't. But whatever. If you're an adult, that's fine. Then all of a sudden, minors started dressing up like women. Minor boys started dressing up like girls, and they started entertaining adults in bars. And conservatives said, hey, this seems inappropriate. Then the leftists doubled down and they said, no, we're going to do drag queen story time. And conservatives said, guys, seriously, no, you're crossing a line here. Let's leave the kids alone because this is wrong. This is wrong. Now, if you don't support all the drag queens all the time, of course, you hate every single one of the L's, the G's, the B's, the T's, the Q's, the A's, the I's, the P's, the elemental P's, the whatever the hell the pluses are, right? You hate them all. So it became a thing because of spite, I think. That's what I think these drag shows are. I think it's just a thing out of spite. that the leftists love to shove down conservatives' throats. They know it peeves us off because they're harming children. And they're doing this out of spite. And who's in the middle? Of course, the kids. To be fair, this illegal drag show, Be Gay, Do Crime, that's what the name of the drag show is. It's called Illegal Drag Show Be Gay, Do Crime at Oregon State University, was advertised for all ages. And they did note, though, to be fair, they did note that there was going to be adult themes. Now, an argument could be made here that it should have been exclusive for adults and it should have been at a bar, at a strip joint. But it's 2023, and apparently this is safe for kids. So I've got the clip here. I'm going to play it not on the radio, but I will go ahead and play it on the live stream if you guys want to watch it. You can watch it. There's, and I'll explain it for the radio folks here. This is bad. They take their clothes off. What appears to be a biological woman at this point. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell nowadays. But she takes her top off and starts doing, um, the
Are you freaking kidding me?
okay, dress, by shooting off all of the right, and then the performer holds various objects into
Oh
a cake. Of course, no film was played in USA loosely, but the source tells Camp Petersen, I don't know if bias in but they said that there were 4 that were so small in the left. They lie about conservatives outlaw drag queens. We aren't talking about brunches and bingo nights, suburban housewives go to in bars, okay? We're not talking about, brunches, we're not talking about bingo night. This is we rated our movie, I guess, if you're an adult, that's not my thing. You think your clouds you're thinking, but to a bar. I can't even get that, right? Just go there. It's events like this that promoted this drag show as for all ages. And there were small children in the audience being popped up on their lap. Being see, um, being told by the media and the left that we have to be okay with it, that's one 9299. You can text into the show or watch me live on Facebook. You want to talk a little bit about Mike Pence. So Mike Pence, he gets out there, he destroys his presidential campaign before it failed on its own. Let's take a listen to Mike Pence here in his Ukraine comment. This is Mike Pence. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
In providing military resources to Ukraine. I mean, they promised 33 Abrams tanks back in January. They're still waiting on them. We're waiting on F-16s to be transferred from somewhere. Approach here. Now, I want to say President Joe Biden has been slow in providing.
um, Look, Nikki Haley is also one of those we should be giving more money to Ukraine wing of the GOP. And all I really want to hear is somebody ask the question, how much money is too much money that can when that money can actually be spent here fixing our own problems. And as for the presidential nominee, Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. Okay, folks, I get the roles Haley, Chris Christie, Tim Scott, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy are playing here. They're running a long shot campaign and they're auditioning for cabinet roles in the new administration. Now, the GOP primary, it's a performance as well as a process. I understand that. You understand that. But Mike Pence, really? Why are you there? Nobody is going to put you in a cabinet role. Nobody's going to put you in this new administration. There's no way. It's not your personality. 309-451-9299. Don't know what Pence's game here is. He can't win. He already put a book out there. No one wants him on his on their team. He has almost like a negative charisma about him. And now he thinks he's going to be the hero of some sort of silent majority of the GOP voters, primary voters who think Zelensky deserves more taxpayer money. Come on now. Nobody thinks that. And Mike Pence, just go away. Just go away. And me, I actually really like the primary process. I love when there's a big primary and we can have debate. I love 6 months worth of debate. Even though I'm all in for one candidate. And you guys know what candidate I'm in for. All right. I'm going to be back. This is the Morning Buzz. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. We're going to be back here in just a little bit. I'm going to get to your comments. Congratulations to the DOJ for indicting serious criminal Donald J. Trump. May your prosecution be successful. Come on, Larry. Oh gosh, this Presidential Records Act is and nobody. I mean, this is just constant um going after Donald Trump. They don't want him to win the nomination. They know he's going to win the nomination. That's why they are afraid of him, and that's why they keep going after him. And then one thing I wanted to bring up was the Presidential Records Act. Bill Clinton, he had tapes in his sock drawer, tapes of conversations he's had with foreign leaders, all very classified stuff. He had it in his sock drawer. Congress funds the former office of the president. And the reason why they fund the former office of the president is so the former president can have Secret Service and be protected because we respect the former office of the president. We respect the office, the presidency so much that we are willing to pay as taxpayers, and Congress has decided to fund the former office of the president, which affords him Secret Service. And because of that, they are allowed to have records. Okay. And these records can be classified, declassified. It really doesn't matter. Um, at most, he might have done some sort of library filing error. I don't know the nuts and bolts of it. However, I do know that this Presidential Records Act is pretty damn clear, and we have court precedent. And I've read the cases before. It was about Bill Clinton keeping those tapes in the sock drawer, and the Presidential Records Act. However, Joe Biden, Mike Pence have had classified documents, and they were then vice presidents. And that Presidential Records Act only applies to people who get Secret Service after they leave the presidency, which is only Donald Trump. Joe Biden, he had classified documents hanging out in his Corvette or by his Corvette in his garage, not kept in a safe place. And he didn't have Secret Service there to protect them. There's a reason why we fund the former office of the president. Okay. Yes. So, someone said, I want to hear someone explain how Ukraine is our problem. I have talked with a Ukrainian pastor, and what's going on there is so sad. You've got children who are afraid of bombings, who can recognize the sounds of missiles and can name the the type of missile, Russian missile. Um, you at the end of the day, folks, this is uh, Ukrainian citizens in the middle of all of this. Russia, Ukraine governments, the United States government, we're all fighting each other because war is a racket and people are making money off of it. And we're doing it at the expense of lives. People are dying in Ukraine. That's real. And yes, I do understand your point. How is Ukraine our problem? I am very much America first. We've got issues here. And for Mike Pence to come out and say, hey, we're being too slow to fund Ukraine. What? We've got a lot of problems. Just go to Philadelphia, go to California. You'll see people slumped over themselves. You'll see poverty to levels we have never seen before, record high poverty, crime. Go to Chicago, right? Um, that's problems we're facing here in America. And how can we be helpful to people like Ukraine, people in in Ukraine, when we don't even have our own ducks in a row? And peace through strength is such a big thing. Peace through strength. The reason why America has always been so great, right? I would have never heard missiles. I've never heard missiles. I don't think I ever will in my lifetime. I don't know. Um, America has never been in those types of situations before, but there have been several company or countries where they regularly hear missile sirens, like bomb sirens, and hey, get to shelter right now, get to your bomb shelters, right? There's countries that regularly go through that sort of thing. More so now, being that America is not strong. America is so strong because we have faith and because we invest in ourselves, and we can help others if we um, are strong, because we can create peace as Americans when we are strong, because we use that economic leverage. When we're strong economically, we can use that economic leverage to create peace negotiations between different countries. So I don't know. At the end of the day, we need somebody in there who can create peace. And clearly, Joe Biden is not doing that. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the Morning Buzz. Yes, Donald Trump, the indictment. Look, this is just another thing. I hate talking about it because I've tried to explain it several times to people. Look, the Presidential Records Act is something that's there to uh, ensure that presidents can take any kind of records they want from the office. Okay. If anything, he might have done like a library filing error or whatever. But at the end of the day, the Presidential Records Act, and we have precedent for this because Bill Clinton actually had all kinds of tapes in his sock drawer, folks. Like he had tapes with interviews that or like chats that he's had with classified, right, with foreign leaders, foreign adversaries, and he had interviews, tapes in his sock drawer. Okay, and this has already been ruled on. The Presidential Records Act, there is precedent, court precedent, that suggests that the president can take whatever he wants through that Records Act. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because why would we fund the former office of the president? Congress funds, so you and I, via taxpayer money, we pay for former presidents to have Secret Service. The reason why we do that is to keep our national security at tight, right? So the former office of the president has to be protected because that president knows things that other people don't, because he was the president, right? There's national security matters, things like that. So he has to be protected, and everything they take from the office has to be protected. That's why we fund the Secret Service and the former office of the president. So that's all I'm really gonna say about it. I'm sure I'll talk about it a lot on Monday. I know next. I don't think he's been indicted yet, but it is imminent, and it is going to be coming soon. Oh, here we go. Justin Trump indicted. That was 8:30 last night. Okay. And Trump on Truth Social, he says, the corrupt Biden administration has informed my attorneys that I have been indicted, seemingly over the boxes hoax. Boxes hoax. I like that. Even though Joe Biden has 50 boxes, the university, oh, yeah, so 1,850 boxes at the University of Delaware, additional boxes in Chinatown, D.C., with even more boxes at the University of Pennsylvania. The documents were all over his garage floor where he parks his Corvette, and which is secure by only a garage floor door that is paper thin and open much of the time. I love it. Donald Trump being very much Donald Trump. Look, he is not going to bow out of the race. Okay. He says that I am an innocent man. Like I said, the Presidential Records Act, the 7 counts include conspiracy to obstruct, willful retention of documents, and false statements. He will be the first former president in U.S. history to face federal charges like this. I don't know what else to say. This is political persecution. And they're not going after Donald Trump. They're going after you. They're going after what Donald Trump stands for because they don't like America First. They don't like the populist movement. They don't like conservatives, and they want to silence you. And the way they do that is by going after people you want to have represent you. Who knows? Maybe you will run for an office someday. This is setting precedent that it's okay to go after your political opponents. This sort of stuff, this is banana republic. This sort of stuff happens in history, and it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well. You're either going to have some sort of uprising. That's what I truly believe they want. They want to push people so hard to where we uprise, and then the narrative that a bunch of white supremacists or whatever rise up, and that's what they want. They want an uprising, or I really do think that they just want an uprising. They want chaos. 309-451-9299. Do want to talk about Kieran Jean-Pierre exposing the White House border crisis, hypocrisy after, and all it really took, folks, was these like 16 illegal aliens being sent to California by Governor Ron DeSantis. He ships them there, and then Governor Gavin Newsom says, well, Ron DeSantis should be charged with kidnapping. What? And then Kieran Jean-Pierre, she says, this is really putting a strain on local resources in the states that have to house these people. 16. What about the border towns, the small border towns in Texas who have to deal with 10,000 a day immigrants coming into their country or coming into their state? I have to take a break, but when we come back, Scott Robbins will join me. This is The Morning Buzz. Because one indictment just isn't enough. We need two. Scott Robbins right over there, Morning Buzz on Cat.
And then we need 3, and then we need 4, and then we need 5, and this time we got him. The walls are closing in. I don't know how many times I've heard this. A million times. This is the one. This is the major one. And every knucklehead talking head show on the planet this morning has got some lawyer on there talking about how this is different. This is the one that gets him. I'll tell you something about this. This should frighten each and every one of you. Every single one of you. When you see what's going on with Donald Trump, you can hate him all you want. But what's currently taking place is a remarkable. The weaponization of the DOJ, politically speaking, is off the hook. Off the hook. You've got Joe Biden. You've got Hunter Biden. You've got reams of receipts. You've got the Bobolinsky testimony. You've got shell corporations that they were running money through, laundering it, and you've got all these things, and nothing's happening. The Biden family is off limits. Hillary Clinton was off limits. Donald Trump, they hate, and they're weaponizing the DOJ to go get him. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. Here's what's going to happen, and I hate to see this. Again, I hate to see this. You think a Democrat's going to be president forever? Well, probably not, although I don't know the way they do things. Now, who knows? But if a Republican, if it's Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump or whomever, Ramaswamy, and whoever it is going to gut the DOJ day one. They need to communicate that directly to the American people right now. We're not going to have this. We're not going to have this. We're going to gut the DOJ. We're going to throw them all out. We're going to reorganize, and we're going to put people in there who stand for law and order, not some political sideshow, which is what you have now. The Rubicon has been crossed again. So, again, you're going to weaponize it, and it's going to be bad for all of us. But this is the way this is all going to turn out.
Well, and I think that this is all a lead up. It's all a lead up. It's all a momentum. They're trying to gain momentum to get Donald Trump so that way in 2024 he can't win.
Let me throw this conspiracy theory at you too, though, Kat. I mean, to push back a little bit on what you just said. There are those that think that this will galvanize his support and will make him the nominee. And they know that he will be easily beatable if he's got all this hanging over his head. But they believe that there's enough anger being fueled right now within the Republican Party to push him over the finish line. We'll see if that's true or not. I don't know. But I know this is crazy. This is like the 18th time this has happened. I mean, what is going on here? Mark Levin had a great monologue, and Kat, I know I directed you to that today. It's about 20 minutes long, but it's worth your while if you hunt it up today.
Yeah, I'll find it.
He breaks this thing down and does it in, well, Mark's a lawyer. He breaks this thing down in a way that I think all of us can understand, because it gets really deep in the weeds, some of this stuff. But, they're trying, well, essentially what they want to do is, I don't think they have a conviction here of any kind, but it's to muddy up the waters enough. And that's what they always do. All right. Okay. Moving on. New York seems to be, by all accounts this morning, at least you can live in it right now, which wasn't the case the last couple of days. Anyway, these forest fires in Canada were wreaking havoc on the air quality there. Plenty of news on that one. Smoke from the wildfires in Canada settling over New York City, which, of course, New York City is the media capital of the country. And when that happens, that's going to be breathlessly covered by everyone. Again, let me just say for a second, this was smoke from a forest fire. And it made the air quality in New York the worst it's been. This is not climate change. But climate change increases the risk of forest fires.
What?
Well, it depends on how far you want to go back in records here. So this group called Climate Defiance, true story here, proudly proclaims in its Twitter bio that it blockaded the White House Correspondents' Dinner and had us all take a sobering look at both the canceled picnics and multiple calls to the morgue because of this smoke. Here's the tweet. Let me read this to you. This is hyperbole.
Where were they when the train derailed? I'm just saying.
Well, it wasn't climate change at all, was it? No, but this is what they said. We choked on our own air today. We wiped soot off our countertops. We rushed our children to ERs and canceled picnics and called up morgues to cart off our dead. Welcome to the future. Picnics canceled? Everybody's dead? What is going on here? but this is the type of stuff you have to deal with all the time. History didn't just start today, by the way, no matter how much they want to make it that way. This has been going on for a while now. Where do you live? Where you can just pick up the phone and call the morgue, by the way. I want to know that, too. That's just me talking here.
You know what really peeves me off about it? There were actual people with that train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio.
Yeah.
Right. Where there was just hazardous chemicals everywhere. People were getting like raspy. Where were the climate activists? They were nowhere because
they weren't
that
there.
was Joe Biden's fault. And people.
Well, and really, they couldn't pinpoint a train derailment on climate change.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it wasn't like the tracks got uber hot and therefore the train went off the tracks. It just, that was a train derailment. Mm-hmm. By the way, that story's completely gone away. I don't know what the situation is there now. I mean, has there been an update on that anywhere? That I haven't seen one, but
I haven't seen one.
I could be wrong. So we were talking earlier about the Biden crime family, the Biden crime syndicate, where the brother's involved, the kid's involved, the daughter was involved. Everyone was getting checks, right? So Nancy Mace, Congressperson Nancy Mace. Do I say Congresswoman? Can I say that, Kat?
Congresswoman. Yeah, I think you can say it.
I can say it on your show, right?
Yeah, woman.
I'd be corrected elsewhere. How dare you call her?
She's a congressperson.
The person. How dare you gender her? Yeah, okay. But anyway, she's hard after this. She had said there was damning evidence in the FBI file, which was made available to members of Congress to look at, that Biden had sold out the country. So Joe Biden was asked about this yesterday as he was wandering off stage. And, well, this was his answer. Here we go. I think.
You walk off the stage.
He's smiling now. It's a bunch of malarkey. So Nancy Mace responds, "We don't find selling out your country funny. Prove us wrong by releasing you and your family's unredacted book records and bank records. The FBI can't protect you." And then she said, "And since you've asked, the money is in your family's shell companies. Release these bank records too." And she lists probably 20 LLCs where the money was laundered and dumped into. All leading back to the Biden crime family. I mean, there probably are 30. Now, when somebody says they can't,
Biden indictment, where's the Biden indictment? Scott?
Where's the special counsel? I mean, what are we doing here? And if I'm Nancy Mace and other members of Congress, you push hard for this, because again, the Rubicon's been crossed. You've set the precedent for where we go in the future in terms of going after political candidates we don't like. I mean, you've set it up. Now you got to live with the results. And they need to stay on this, because there's reams of evidence since he was a senator that this garbage has been going on. And then let's talk about all of the records he has.
Next to his Corvette in the garage.
Well, and the other ones at his house in Delaware and everywhere hither and yon. I mean, again, if you want to make something an issue, you better make sure your house is clean, and it's not. Joe Biden's been around politics since when Calvin Coolidge was president. There's enough ghosts in there, enough skeletons in that closet I'm sure that once they start to peel this onion back a little bit, holy smokes. So anyway, we'll see if it goes anywhere now, but I'm just telling you, this is exactly what you don't want. This is exactly the wrong way for government to work. But again, you call down the thunder, this is what you get.
Where's the money? Bet, Joe. Bet.
Where's the money?
Bet.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out, Joe. We're going to find out how rich your kid is, your drug-addled kid.
Who won't pay child support.
And your idiot brother. Yeah, we'll find out just exactly who's involved and where all this goes.
Maybe his daughter wrote it down in her diary somewhere.
Yeah, after showering with her dad. God.
You just said it, Scott.
Hey, man, that was part of it, right? That was part of it. I'm not making that up.
No, that's real.
He's
yikes.
I guess we're supposed to go, well, isn't that great? No, that's not great.
No.
I have a daughter. Never happened. It wasn't even a consideration. No, you go in there and take care of whatever. Jeez.
God.
Of course it is, because I'm a normal. Well, I'm not normal, but I'm more normal than Joe. Put it that way.
Put it that
Okay.
way.
Golly. All right. Well, have a good weekend, Kat. Hey,
You
by
too,
the
Scott
way,
Robin.
if you're a Cardinal fan, Yadi Molina bobblehead night with the Chiefs.
Ooh.
Yeah, you get a Yadi Molina bobblehead. First 1,000 fans.
First 1,000
I'm not
fans.
getting paid to say that either, because I'm not. I'm
You're
just
not
telling
a
you.
Cardinals fan.
If you're a
You're
Cardinal
Chiefs
fan. Yeah, well, I got a lady that's a Cardinal fan, so we will be one of the first 1,000. I can almost guarantee it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. I love her anyway, but you know how it goes. All right. I'll talk to you later. See
I'll
you,
see
Kat.
you later,
All
Scott
right, see ya.
Robbins. All right, folks, we'll be back here on the other side talking about, you know what? We've got to talk about Katie Hobbs. Can't believe that she decided to veto this bill that would have banned teachers from filming porn in their classrooms. Don't miss Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins tonight at 8 on Cities 92.9. Good morning, folks. We will be talking with Jeannie Ive. She's a former state representative, and we're going to be talking about the $300,000 grant that was given to convicted felon of the BLM Lake County. So, yeah, that's where your money is going. Now, there's something in there that says that you cannot do that. There's a bill, it's called Grant Transparency, and you cannot just give money to BLM activists and not be transparent with the public about that. So Jeannie Ives will be joining me here shortly to talk about Governor J.B. Pritzker and how he took your money and decided to give it to a convicted felon, and this felon was charged with felony battery of a police officer multiple times. I mean, has just a string of crime that he's associated with, and your taxpayer money going to them after the state budget was signed in this fiscal 2024 budget. So here we go. We'll talk about that. Also, Katie Hobbs. She is the Arizona governor. And last November, there was this Arizona teacher couple, and they decided to film their sex life in their classroom, inside the classroom they worked in. So these teachers were employed by the school district. It's called Lake Havasu Unified School District. Um, so, yeah, this is Lake Havasu. Havasu? Hang on. That's where this was at. And they filmed themselves, then they were fired. But now that is part, hey, maybe we should write a bill that explicitly bans. Okay, we're gonna be back talking about Katie Hobbs. Also, yeah, so I figured this out. these teachers, right? They filmed the pornography after school hours in their classroom, the teachers in Arizona. And what happened was that spurred up a legislator to say, hey, we should explicitly ban this as a state. Let's not have teachers filming pornography for their OnlyFans accounts in school. And Katie Hobbs vetoed the bill in fear that that would run into her whole goal of distributing pornography via the form of graphic novel to children in the classroom. So she didn't sign the bill uh, because she wants to continue to give pornography to children via a book. So we'll talk about it here coming up. Wowza, $300,000. Could you imagine getting that? Well, a convicted felon did. Why? Because Governor J.B. Pritzker said so. Yeah. There is a line in the budget that affords a convicted felon who is the leader of this BLM um, organization in Lake County, Illinois, uh, $300,000 to this group. This isn't the first time that this Lake County BLM group has gotten money from the state, from you and I, because money doesn't grow on trees, folks. When the state gives grants out and when the state gives money, that is your money and my money. So they decided to give this grant to BLM activists. This convicted felon has been charged multiple times with things like felony battery, disorderly conduct, jumping bail. Not a great guy. Not a great guy at all. And guess who has more money to do what with? Probably not spend it on charitable donations, because we now know that the national organization of BLM, I think it was what, less than 30% actually went to charitable organization, and then the rest of it went to their Lambos, to their mansions, and to their Gucci Prada bags, right? That's what BLM is. Like, that's the national organization. They've been caught in all kinds of things, scandals about where this money goes. And the local organization, Lake County BLM, they got money from JB not once but twice. And former Representative Jeannie Ives ran for governor, and she's a frequent contributor. I really like having Jeannie Ives in studio and on the air. She is very, very educated. I actually watch her show more than any other show, I think, out there as far as politics goes. I watch Breakthrough Ideas. She goes live whenever Jeannie goes live on Facebook. I watch her show to get caught up on state issues. She does a lot of state house stuff. So we're going to be talking with Jeannie Ives. Now, I do want to hit this a little bit. Katie Hobbs, she's the Arizona governor. And I know every time I talk about Katie Hobbs, I'm reminded how much pain I'm in now that Carrie Lake would have made a great governor in Arizona, but we're left with this dingbat instead, Katie Hobbs. So she vetoed a bill that would have made it illegal for teachers to film pornography in their elementary school classrooms. Yes, you heard me correctly. This means that Hobbs, I mean, I guess this makes her in the pocket of big porn or something, because how could you have vetoed a bill that just is so common sense? Teachers should not be filming pornography in their classrooms. So this was all started because of something that happened last November, where this teacher couple in Arizona at the school district, their names are Samantha and Dylan Peer. They were employed by the school district, and the students found their OnlyFans content, and they filmed themselves after school hours, but they were fired. And Samantha, she later released a whiny video on YouTube about why you should feel bad for her. Spoiler, I didn't feel bad for her, not one bit. So OnlyFans also reiterated that, hey, the only rule we have is that you can't film sex in public places. That's like one rule that they've got. So why would Governor Katie Hobbs veto such a common sense reform? I've got it here on the live stream. Her quotes. We're going to exclusively cover this story on Facebook. So join me there. And then when I come back at about 8:06, we're going to be talking with Jeannie Ives. She's a former state representative. We're going to talk about this $300,000 grant that was given to Lake County BLM, that group. So, quote from Katie Hobbs. She says, "I vetoed this bill. While I agree that not all content is appropriate for minors, this bill is a poor way to address those concerns. The sponsor has stated that this bill was to aim to prevent a specific action from reoccurring, while in reality, it's written in such a vague manner that it serves as little more than a thinly veiled effort to ban books." So, of course, she's referencing states like Florida. Um, so Florida believes that books about kids tasting their quote vagina slime and quote how to give a handy to the point where the guy comes, right? That's I'm reading the book here, Genderqueer, which has been found in schools. Or reading graphic novel that explicitly illustrates two dudes in the act is appropriate for schools, right? So they are being kept out of school libraries in the state of Florida, these books. And that's what she's referencing. She's saying that those books are banned. Democrats who are pro exposing children to pornography in the classroom, like Kitty Hobbs, call this book banning. They call exposing kids to porn book banning. Um, I'm going to take this phone call. I'll be right back. We're going to dig into this a little bit more. Good morning, folks. All right, we're going to be back here on the live stream. Breakthrough Ideas Policy Advocacy Group. Jeannie Ives, she is incredible, and she really keeps up to date on this stuff, folks. So I would definitely go check her webpage out. I'm going to share it here with you. We're going to talk about quite a lot. One thing that we're going to talk about for sure is this $300,000 grant. Where JB gave it to the Lake County BLM a group. It was a BLM group. So this is Jeannie Ives, Breakthrough Ideas, her webpage here, so you guys can see what she looks like. I will go ahead throw the web address in the comments so that way y'all have it. It's so important. I don't get into a whole lot of nitty gritty stuff on this show when it comes to bills that are happening uh, in Springfield. I can't believe this. So Mike Pence, he's ending his presidential campaign before it fails on its own, folks, after this super lame Ukraine comment. Also, Caron Jean-Pierre exposing the White House border crisis hypocrisy. And all it really took was 16 illegal aliens being sent to a blue state. And Caron Jean-Pierre just exposes the White House hypocrisy when it comes to the border crisis. I've talked a lot about this Democrat governor, Katie Hobbs. She vetoed this bill that would have banned teachers from filming porn in their classrooms. I am going to get to all of that here in the 8 o'clock hour, but I don't want to waste any time because I've got a very special guest. She's been on the show before, former state representative Jeannie Ives. She's run for governor. She's the founder of the policy advocacy group called Breakthrough Ideas. And folks, it is so important that you listen to her show. I don't get into the nitty gritty here on this show, The Morning Buzz, when it comes to things happening in Springfield. Jeannie Ives does. She lays it all out for you, very easy to understand. And she recently talked a little bit about this $300,000 grant to a group headed up by a convicted felon. And this grant money came out of your pocket, the Illinois taxpayer. So, Jeannie, thanks so much for joining me here on The Morning Buzz.
Well, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I saw this out of Center Square. They did the write up, and it's Clyde McLemore. And
I
tell
think
me
it's
about
McLemore, but
McLemore?
I've been calling him McLemore too, so I'm not sure the pronunciation of the man's
McLemore.
name.
Yeah, just a bad guy. Tell me about how you found this out, and what we're looking at here. Why was this group specifically, Lake County Black Lives Matter, given $300,000? And this was all a part of the recent budget that JB signed off, right?
Well, sure, and thank you. I mean, we don't really know how he was given the $300,000 or who actually put him in for that grant line. What we do know is that he was given $300,000 in COVID relief money from Governor Pritzker in 2021 as well. And at the time that Governor Pritzker gave him that money, Mr. McLemore was actually out on bond for battery to a police officer from a confrontation that he had following the Jacob Blake riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And he was arrested for that, and he was charged with disorderly conduct and battery to a police officer. And that case was never settled out until December of 2022. So at the time that he got the first COVID relief grant money from Governor Pritzker, $300,000, this guy was, first of all, he was a convicted felon at that point. He's had multiple run-ins with the law. But at that time he was out on bond for battery. It's just nonsense that he got the first $300,000. And now shockingly, you come back and he's got another $300,000 specifically named grant line to his organization called Black Lives Matter Lake County in the current year's budget. Now, I applaud the Illinois Freedom Caucus. They're the first people that I saw who put it out and highlighted it as a budget item. But Kat, you say that don't get into the nitty gritty of bills. I'm telling you right now, neither do the legislators for the most part. And this is one of those examples where nobody gets into the nitty gritty of the budget bill.
Mhm. Yeah, well, and there's so much in this budget bill. I mean, we've got the pre-K. I call it funny money. $250 million. Is it even real? The money there, like, is it even real? I don't know if it's real. And it's
Well,
go ahead.
that's an interesting thing that you're bringing up is the pre-K education that Governor Pritzker is touting as like this huge benefit to everybody that you're putting in preschool education. Almost they want to actually make it free for everybody eventually. But I mean, this number is we went from $593 million that we are having spent just 5 years ago on preschool education to now $673 million on preschool education. And back when I had a look at this whole thing, there was gobs of money coming in at that time from even the Rauner administration into preschool as well. They were glamming on to federal grant money that was coming in, and you had literally, I proved it up with the numbers. You had people, taxpayers funding preschools at the cost of $17,000 per kid for 4-year-old preschool. Outrageous. Total waste of money.
That's so wasteful, and not to mention the evidence-based funding and what a nightmare that is. I mean, I think that there's school districts here locally who haven't gotten their money from the state that they were promised. I mean, there's schools all over the state that are looking for money from the state that said, hey, we're going to pay you this money to continue your operations, but we're not going to give it to you because of the pension crisis.
Well, that's another really good topic you're bringing up. You're hitting all my hot buttons, honestly. So I voted against the evidence-based funding model because the whole thing was convoluted and ineffective in other states to begin with when it was tried over there. It's going to require massive amounts of money that we're not even there yet in spending the amount of money that they want to spend, and yet there's no results. What they've decided to do is kind of build the model school. Like the model school has X, Y, and Z. It has so many teachers per classroom. It spends so much on technology. It has X amount of nurses per student population. I mean, they were building literally the model school, and then they were saying that you have to fund it at that level. But the funding formula was always messed up, first of all, because it relied on reliable property assessments, which are a total mess across the state. I can tell you that. But secondly, it requires you to think that just based off of the inputs, you're going to get the right outputs, when the biggest input is obviously parental involvement and then teacher quality. And let me just give you one example of how this is not working out. So right now, there's a number of school districts where they are increasing class size rather than making it the model class size. And the evidence-based funding model says you should only have 15 kids per classroom, K through third grade. And then fourth grade through 12th grade, you should have no more than 25 kids in the classroom. And that's being violated all day long. So we're funding a model, and then the school districts themselves are not complying with the model. And all we're getting is waste.
Yeah. It's a nightmare. And then there's also the performance aspect of it too. And there's if you don't meet certain criteria, you don't get that funding, and there's different tiers, and you could be a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It's really convoluted, and it's a mess. So here we are throwing more money at problems that are already huge, and he thinks that it's just going to fix it. It's not. More money at the problem is not going to fix it. I do want to ask you about the non-citizens getting police badges. So this is a bill, I think it's 3751, something like that.
I think it was 3517 or 3571, something like that, right?
Yeah. And it essentially is going to, I mean, we could see non-citizens carrying around a gun and a badge. And we had Republicans, specifically my state representative, who I've been very hard on. I've been ripping on him. And I said, look, I don't know what I would never. I'm not going to vote for an Illinois Republican who, one, sponsors any kind of legislation with the Democrats. They don't need it. They don't need you to co-sponsor bills. They have a supermajority, and they don't need you to vote on anything. So why would you
Yep.
vote for anything Democrat sponsored? Just don't do it.
Well,
Like there's no
no,
reason to do it because they can just get it through anyway.
yeah, no, this is one of those weird situations where people try to be friendly with the other side and kind of meet them halfway and maybe, build some bridges, and it completely backfired on them. And that's kind of what happened in this bill. So John Cabello is a police officer. He represents parts of Rockford. He is he's a good guy. He's a Republican, but he got cozy with the sponsor of this bill and said, well, listen, you have to make sure we'll do this if you put in some changes for me. And oh, by the way, just so you know, non-citizens can't carry weapons. So unless the federal law changes, your law means nothing. And so he went with that sort of idea that federal law is never going to change on this. So this is just a meaningless ceremonial bill and whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. And so once he had agreed, and he told me this, once he had agreed with the sponsor to make some changes, and she did, then he felt obligated to vote for it. So and interestingly, it passed out of the House unanimously. So like all the Republicans did terrible on it the first time it was around. Then it goes to the Senate, and the Senate Republicans see it for what it is, which is like, you are saying that a non-citizen can arrest an American citizen on American soil? Are you crazy? Just the idea of that should be rejected wholesale. It's foundationally just opposite of anything that we should ever agree to. I don't care if it's ceremonial in nature, if it will never happen because federal law won't change. It doesn't matter. You need to be a hard no on this stuff. And so the Senate Republicans got it right. It came back on a concurrence motion to the House, and at least 7 House Republicans woke up and said, wow, we weren't even paying attention to it because we were thinking our colleague who's in that committee knew more about it than we did. And that wasn't the case, right? So sometimes you kind of get bamboozled if your colleague's not looking out for you on a bill, because, they file 5,000 bills a year. They pass through 400 or 500 bills a year. You can't be an expert on everything, so you sometimes trust your colleagues. But in this case, total misreading, because they gave a ceremonial victory to Barbara Hernandez, who ran one pro non-citizen or one pro illegal alien bill after another this session. And they gave her another ceremonial win to go back to her district and say, look what I've done for illegal aliens. I mean, it's just nonsense.
Oh boy. And you bring up a great point where, you're hoping your colleague looks out for you. I don't know, maybe now that they're paid $90,000 a year, they'll be looking at these bills a little bit closer here, Jeannie. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up. It's true, right? I mean, maybe now that you're paid $90,000 a year, because that's what was passed here in this Illinois state budget, they got a 5.5 or is it 5% raise?
So they attempted to take a 5.5% pay increase after having a pay increase literally almost every year for the last 5 years. And they attempted to do that, but that exceeded the state requirement saying that you're limited to inflation. So or 5%. So they only took the lesser of inflation, or 5%. So they only got the 5%. Funny. Which really knocked off almost nothing, because they're still making darn near $90,000 a year, when just 5 years ago, actually really about 4 years ago, if you were a legislator and you started in January of 2019, your pay was $67,836. Now you're a legislator and you're going to get paid in July of 2023, which is really about 4.5 years difference, right? Your pay is going to be almost $90,000, $89,350, something like that. I mean, that's a 32% pay increase in about
in just 4 years.
In 4 years, it's insane. And they are such. And back then, I had a study done when I was a legislator, and at that time, they were the 5th highest paid state legislators in the country. Okay, fine. We were the 5th most populous. Big deal. We had the worst credit rating at that time, worst budget fiasco, worst pension crisis. We're the worst run state in the union still. I mean, we should be rewarded for work done, not, based on our population size, but that's whatever. But now there are benefits for most people, because trust me, when you're in your 3rd term, every one of those guys has a committee assignment as a head or a speaker of the committee. They're making an extra $10,000. Sometimes those committees meet 3 times a year, maybe
Wow.
sometimes meet 10 or 15 times a year. I mean, they're making an enormous amount of money for extra work. And then they get pension on top of that. Then they get health care on top of that. And then they get, all sorts of travel stipends as well. I mean, they're making a lot of money for a part-time gig.
Yeah, for a part-time gig, they
It's a
are
part-time gig.
making so much
Yep.
money. And Jeannie Ives, we're getting close to a break, so I've got to go. But it's always a pleasure having you on. And how can we find out more about you?
Great. If you could visit breakthrough-ideas.com and sign up for our newsletter and listen to our podcast, I think that you would everybody be a little bit more informed. So we'd appreciate people doing that.
Jeannie, you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll be back. Jeannie Ives, she had a lot to say there. I want to unpack some of the stuff that's going on in the state of Illinois, specifically. Why is it you can only go after the state in 2 counties now, Cook County and Sangamon County? I've got some theories here. You want to know one? Well, it turns out that there's something against a county clerk in Will County right now. I don't think it makes mathematical sense that she got more votes than Governor J.B. Pritzker, and there's a lawsuit against Will County right now in that election. We'll be back to talk about it. This is the Morning Buzz. folks. Obama's CIA director, who was never president with declassification authority, mind you, stole classified documents and gave them to his mistress in exchange for sex for years. He was allowed to pled it down to a misdemeanor and got probation. His name? David Petraeus. Okay, look that up. David Petraeus. Obama's CIA director has no declassification powers. I've told you before, the Presidential Records Act gives the president declassification authority over all documents. Look, there is a possibility the lawyers push these cases so far down the road that the trials don't even take place until 2025. Republicans pounce. They are pounce on FBI report showing Biden bribed 10 million by Ukrainian oligarchs. So this is a headline, right? Republicans pounce. They love this. I don't know if it's pouncing, if there's evidence that Joe Biden bribed people or was bribed and he was paid for policy favor and by Ukrainian oligarchs. I mean, he was paid by Ukrainian oligarchs in exchange for favorable policy. And yeah, this is all, it's not hypocrisy, it's hierarchy. Biden takes cash from these foreign governments and they investigate Trump. Biden takes a bribe from Ukraine, they impeach Trump. Biden steals classified documents, they indict Trump. I mean, this is all against Donald Trump. Let's take a listen to Donald Trump right now. And if you're watching on the live stream, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, you can see me in studio. You can also see the screen where Donald Trump talks about how he is an innocent man.
Him on a box's hoax, just like the Russia hoax and all of the others. It's just been going on for 7 years. They can't stop because it's election interference at the highest level. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller report, and that came out. No collusion after 2.5 years. That was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats. But this is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, it would be a lot better for our country. They could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things. But when you look at what's happened to our country in the last 3 years, we were energy independent. We had a strong military that wasn't woke. We were doing so well. We were respected all over the world. Got the biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history. And what do? You have a president where an election was taken, got more votes than any sitting president in history by far, never anything even close. And they come after me because now we're leading in the polls again by a lot against Biden and against the Republicans by a lot. But we're leading against Biden by a lot, a tremendous amount. And we went up to a level that they figured the way they're going to stop us is by using what's called warfare. And that's what it is. This is warfare for the law. And we can't let it happen. We can't let it happen. Our country is going to hell. And they come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI. We can't let this continue to go on because it's ripping our country to shreds. We have such big problems, and this shouldn't be one of them. It's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax, just like Russia, just like the fake dossier was a hoax. You saw the Durham report. You saw the Mueller report. It was all a big hoax. You had 2 impeachments, and they lost, and we won. And we had tremendous support. But that was a hoax and a scam. And now they're doing it again. It's just a continuation, 7 years, even after I'm out. But it's called election interference. They're trying to destroy a reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years, and especially during the 2020 election. So I just want to tell you, I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong.
He's an innocent man. He did nothing wrong. But I'll tell you who did do something wrong, and he pled guilty to it. That's David Petraeus. Now, he was the CIA director. He was Obama's CIA director who had no declassification powers. Like I've said multiple times on this program, the Presidential Records Act gives Donald Trump declassification powers. Okay. Now, David Petraeus, the CIA director under Barack Obama, he pled guilty in 2016 to a criminal charge of mishandling classified information for uncovered evidence that he discussed highly classified information with journalists. So this was a mistress of his, folks, that he gave classified documents to, and he gave them to his mistress in exchange for sex for years. Okay. This is David Petraeus, Obama CIA director. This guy gets to plea a misdemeanor and he got probation. Okay. And they're going to go after Donald Trump for all of these different counts. Look, there is a possibility, and I think it's possible, but that these lawyers push these cases far down the road to where the trials don't even take place in 2025. Possible, but I do think that the DOJ pushes for a trial as fast as possible. People say the walls are closing in, walls are closing in. This might actually be where the walls tried to close in. This has been a building of going after Donald Trump. They have been gone after J6ers. They've gone after conservatives. This has been building, 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 building. And this might be the cherry on top of the cake. They've indicted Donald Trump. Now, look, folks, they have no grounds to convict. This has already been done, handled. Bill Clinton. There's court precedent that says that the Presidential Records Act gives him declassification powers and declassification authority. Do want to shift gears, and I do want to talk about Caron Jean-Pierre. So Caron Jean-Pierre, the Black lesbian diversity hire of Joe Biden's, she got out there and she decided to straight up just be a hypocrite. Now, kudos to Texas Governor Greg Abbott. When that first bus of illegal asylum undocumenteds rolled into Washington, D.C. and dropped the migrants off at their new home, he really did change the conversation about illegal immigration. Suddenly, all of the pro-illegal Democrat Party people were concerned about these illegal immigrants draining services, putting a drain on services and resources, and they were worried about the illegal immigrants coming to these towns, these blue states, these blue cities. Liberals preferred it when the illegal immigration was a problem for small towns along the border because they could virtue signal about xenophobia from the comforts of their own home. Now, here's White House Press Secretary Caron Jean-Pierre doing what she does best, being a hypocrite. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Very, very clear about that. It is dangerous and unacceptable because you're putting people's lives at risk, and it's dangerous and unacceptable because you're actually putting a lot of pressure on these states and local areas. And so I've said it many times from here, repeatedly from this podium, that busing or flying migrants around the country without any coordination with the federal government, we've talked about this, state or local officials as well, is dangerous and unacceptable. And we'll continue to be very, very clear about that.
There you have it, Caron Jean-Pierre being a hypocrite. Look, folks, the most incompetent of Joe Biden's diversity hires was talking about 16 illegals who were sent from Florida to California. And then Governor Gavin Newsom, of course, got his underwear in a wad. And he says, we need to charge Ron DeSantis with kidnapping. Even though these illegals were all excited about going to California. They were excited. They were, in fact, I saw videos of them laughing on the plane going to California. Okay. Gavin, if you don't want them there, then don't brag about how California is a sanctuary state. Caron Jean-Pierre, she says, this puts a lot of pressures on states to take in 16 undocumented seeking asylum illegals? Come on, Caron. Because get this, over 10,000 migrants crossing over a day, I think puts pressure on the towns along the border there. The White House's position here for these small towns in Texas who are getting these 10,000 illegals every day, you know their position on it? Meh, who cares? What? 309-451-9299. I'm going to be back on the other side. We got a few things to run through. I do want to talk about I was talking about this earlier. I guess I'll bring it up again. Kids exposed to booby weightlifting. Yes, during yet another all ages drag show. I'm sick of it. Drag queens, you're done. Stop. Stop. Leave the kids alone. We'll be back. I love it. Ron DeSantis doesn't need the White House's permission to send illegal immigrants to California. No, he does not. Um, mm, yeah, so we're going to come back. I'm reading through your comments here. Be sure if you're watching right now, smash the like button. I would so do appreciate it. Smash that like button, please. Smash the like button. folks. Thanks so much for joining me. Good morning. I'm so appreciative that you tune in to Cities 92.9. Couple of housekeeping things. One thing I wanted to let you know about, come June 14th at 7 a.m., there's a deal that we've got on our website. That's cities929.com. 2 adult admissions, 1 large popcorn, 2 large sodas, 50% off Harvest Moon Drive-In. I love the Harvest Moon Drive-In Theater. I actually watched Top Gun Maverick there, and that goes on sale. You can get that deal. It's Steals and Deals. June 14th, it opens at 7 a.m. So y'all are going to want to go to cities929.com. Now, before we took the break, I was talking a little bit about these drag queens and how it's really escalated. Okay, folks, this is not, this isn't just drag queens. Okay, this is something that's kind of disgusting, I guess, to put it lightly. Now, this happened at Oregon State University. Now, Oregon State University, we've got somebody booby weightlifting. Yeah, you're gonna be like, what? What is booby weightlifting? Well, this was at an all ages drag show. That's what it was promoted as, and kids were exposed to what's called booby weightlifting. And I actually have the video here on our page. If you are watching live on Facebook or on YouTube, you can see the video of what booby weightlifting is. Let me just explain it to us here, listening to audio. Um, oh, this is gross. So I'm going to play it. You can see what's going on here with this what appears to be a biological woman. And this biological woman decides to
Are you
take off
freaking kidding
her
me?
shirt and put things underneath uh, the breast. I guess. Oh gosh, this is just so raunchy. So it appears to be a biological, fully exposing the breast to the audience by taking off the upper body part. The performer then tries to hold like these various objects underneath the breast, like a wooden sword or a 5-pound weight or something like that. And this is called booby weight. And truly disturbing. Look, um, drag queens, you gotta take a knee. I know many of you feel you're definitely right, are too critical of your voice, and you feel men dressed as women entertaining children is no different from, Chase from Paw Patrol, right? From Paw Patrol entertaining children. It is different, okay? Drag is inappropriate for children. Um, you know what bolsters the case here? Trying is taking off your clothes and doing something called these booby push-ups in front of children. Okay, when did it become an ideal to children drag? When did this become a thing? Excellent question. There's always been drag shows. Adult men would dress up as women and they would tell raunchy jokes or entertain adults in bars. If that's your thing, whatever. Then minors dressing up like women and trying to entertain adults in bars started doing this. Minors did, and conservatives said, "Hey, this kind of seems inappropriate." And then guess what the left did? They doubled down. They started doing things like Drag Queen Story Hour, where you have a drag queen, a dude dressed up as a guy, reading to children. Conservatives said, "Guys, seriously, this is crossing a line. Leave the kids alone." And if you don't support all these drag queens, fine, but you tweak all of the L's, the G's, the B's, the T's, the Q's, the I's, the L M N P's, whatever the hell pluses are nowadays. So, in short, I don't know when it became a thing, but I think it became a thing out of spite. So the leftists know that it makes the conservatives mad, so that's why they continue to do it, and they go further and further each time. And in this case, Oregon State University, they advertised the drag show for all ages. Now, to be fair, they did note that there were some quote adult themes going to be at this drag show. An argument can be made, I guess. I'd hope that this should have been exclusive for adults, but it's 2023, whatever. This performer literally exposes herself and put things underneath the breast like a wooden sword, 5-pound weight, at one point brings out a ladder or something to put underneath it, like a full ladder, full-on ladder. And you can see this on the Facebook Live if you wanted to look at this. This is, disturbing to say none of the least. Look, my problem with all of this is, um it's events like this in front of children, promoted to children that really bother me. And then you're constantly told by the media and the left that you have to be okay with it. And I repeat myself when I say this. The left and the media lie about conservatives wanting to outlaw drag shows. That's not true. We're not talking about, brunches or bingo nights, that are appropriate for children. We're talking about the stuff the booby weight things, the exposing your chest to children, and Campus Reform says that there's a source, and they said that at this Oregon State University drag show, there were children present, and they were so small that there was even adults sitting them up on their laps so that way they could see the booby weightlifting competition or whatever it is. Ugh. I gotta take a break, but I'll be back. We've got a couple of things to run through real quick. One thing that I did want to talk about was actually I've got this Obama CIA director, back in 2016 stole classified documents, and yeah, he's not getting the same treatment Trump did. Here we go. Good morning, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. I so do appreciate it. Be sure to smash that like button. Hit it right now if you're watching. Um, we are going to be talking about Obama's CIA director, David Petraeus, I guess is his name, 2016. He pled guilty to mishandling classified documents. So, how exactly did he mishandle them? Well, he stole them and then he decided to give them to his mistress, i.e., a journalist, in exchange for sex. Um, for years and years of sex, which is deeply disturbing. I'm not shocked though. He was a member of the Biden administration. Um, but here we have a CIA director of the Obamas. This is just so blatantly clear that this is for you. We're going to treat Trump one way, and we're not going to treat somebody else the other, or somebody else from the Democrat Party the same way. So he was given a misdemeanor slap on the wrist, some probation. He stole some classified documents, gave them to a mistress in exchange for sex, and they didn't do anything about it. They just let him plead guilty to a misdemeanor and gave him a little bit of probation. They were like, tisk, 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 you shouldn't have done that. Now they're trying to go after Donald Trump on federal charges, felony charges, treason, they're going after him for all kinds of crazy. Uh, and get this, the CIA director doesn't have declassification authority like President Donald Trump has. So that's the main difference here is that Presidential Records Act that I have just exhausted myself trying to say, that this Records Act affords the president to take documents from the White House. Okay, that we live in a world of reality, and the president, the office of the former president, is funded so that way we can protect it. Because every president has secrets. Every president probably has national security information that shouldn't be out there for the rest of the world. We need to protect the president, the former office of the president, from adversaries trying to get them to spill things about our nation's security. So, um, at the end of the day, this is just fake. Joe Biden, he had classified documents and he was a vice president, and he stored them in his garage. And then Mike Pence, he also had documents, and they stored it in his garage or in his stored documents, and he didn't have Secret Service protecting those documents. At Mar-a-Lago, he had Secret Service, Donald Trump protecting those documents and had them locked up, which he's allowed to do as a former president. Like I said, we fund the former office of the president, and under the Presidential Records Act, he's allowed to do this. Yeah, it's a hoax, boxes hoax, as Donald Trump coined it. Um, Now, one thing I want to point out was, understand what point of the movie we're in. Joe Biden taking cash from foreign governments, 10 million, I guess, from Ukrainian oligarchs. And guess what the response is? Investigate Trump. Joe Biden taking a bribe from Ukraine, and they impeach Donald Trump. Joe Biden steals classified documents. They indict Donald Trump. So this is disgusting. Now, Ron DeSantis says nothing should be done about the DOJ's partisanship unless he is done about the DOJ's partisanship unless he is president. He doesn't call for an end to the Trump witch hunts. There's no call to take to action. No, this is strategic blunder from the Tallahassee team. So this is coming from Richard Grinnell. Ron DeSantis says the weaponization of federal law enforcement represents a mortal threat to a free society. So let me look at this tweet here from Governor Ron DeSantis. And I'm going to read the whole tweet for us. And he talks about the weaponization here. If I can find it. Here we are. Ron DeSantis. The weaponization of federal law enforcement represents a mortal threat to a free society. We have for years witnessed an uneven application of the law depending upon political affiliation. So, why so zealous in pursuing Trump, yet so passive about Hillary or Hunter? The DeSantis administration will bring accountability to the DOJ, excise political bias, and end the weaponization once and for all. So, Ron DeSantis there, he said nothing should be done about the DOJ's partnership unless he's president. And he doesn't call for an end to the Trump witch hunts right now. And there's no call to action now. He's just saying, hey, when I'm president, I'll do these things. This is a strategic blunder from a Tallahassee team used to dealing with an overwhelming majority of Republicans. So this is what Richard Grinnell puts out there. Mm-mm-mm. Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Hey, thanks so much for joining me here on the Morning Buzz. I'm so excited. I've got so much to get to in such little time. Such little time. So we have this new CIA director, and I want to point this out. This indictment happens last night. Trump gets out there, and this Obama CIA director in 2016, his name is David Petraeus. Okay, he stole classified documents and gave them to his mistress in exchange for sex for years. And get this, he was allowed to plead guilty to a misdemeanor and then only got probation. See, they treat things differently depending on your political affiliation. Donald Trump, who has declassification powers under the Presidential Records Act, is being treated very differently than a David Petraeus. David Petraeus was given a slap of the wrist. Look, Joe Biden, he took cash from foreign governments, and what was the response? Investigate Donald Trump. Then he takes a bribe from Ukraine. What was the response? They impeached Donald Trump. Joe Biden steals classified documents. They indict Donald Trump. Do you understand what point of the movie you are in? Good morning to everyone except the enemies of the American people. I hope you had a great morning. 9 a.m. And we're going to continue this morning with Glenn Beck, Dan Bongino, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, and Markley Van Camp and Robbins. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Be sure to tune in to the live stream. 309-451-9299. Bye-bye. I love you.